Welcome to 3 Essential Self-Care Tools for the 21st Century Spiritual Warrior. My name is Joan DiArgo, and I am the founder of the Spiritual Wildfire Academy, which is a global online resource for anyone who is ready to courageously use their own light to help ignite a worldwide spiritual wildfire. So in this course, I want to share with you 3 things. I want to share with you, number 1, why a spiritual toolbox is essential in this day and age. Number 2, just share with you a little bit about what's in my toolbox. And number 3, share with you 3 essential tools to actually guide you through them so that you can experience them in this class right here and now. 3 tools that are very near and dear to my heart. So let's dive in. Why is a spiritual toolbox an absolute necessity in this day and age? Well, if there was ever a time that was calling out for us to hone our spiritual resilience and sharpen our spiritual tools, it's now. We live in extraordinary times, both exceptionally promising and radically uncertain. We're moving closer to a critical tipping point. And we read headlines that the very nature of civilization is at stake if we don't act now. And we're witnessing and seeing and experiencing the 6th mass wave of extinction of plants and animals, primarily caused by human beings. We see human injustices that break our hearts. We live in a world that is deeply out of balance. Yet at the same time, there's a worldwide awakening that is beginning to rise up. People from all walks of life are rising up. We're hearing the wake-up call, and we're courageously and boldly shining our lights. We call ourselves rebels, revolutionaries, light workers, change agents, spiritual warriors. But what's happening is, as we rise up, we're clearly seeing the truth of what is happening in the world today. And we're witnessing the demise of an outdated mindset that's fueling a dysfunctional story. And if this story had a name, you could call it the story of separation. And this story tells us, it's based on lies, and it tells us that we are limited, that solutions are unattainable, and that we dare not dream a new dream. It's based in fear. It tells us that we're separate. We're separate from nature. We're separate from each other. And we're even separate from the truth and the light that we were born with. But we're done with this story, and we're choosing to not feed it anymore. And as we let go of this story, a new story is emerging. And I call it the story of our awakened hearts. And it's one that is based on the feminine values of wisdom, justice for all, compassion, love, and joy. It knows that we're all connected to one another, to all species, and always connected to the truth and the light that is inside of us. The story of our awakened hearts, it also believes that we are capable of the greatest transformation we have yet to experience as human beings, and that's our ability to embody and use our own spiritual light to co-create with divine source energy the world we know is possible. But right now, we're in the thick of it, and we are shape-shifting. We're neither here nor we are there in the new story of our awakened hearts. You know, we're hanging precariously, and that can feel very, very uncertain. We live in stormy times, and I want to share with you this quote that Francis Weller wrote in his beautiful book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And he writes that every one of us have encountered times when we felt as though we were in the midst of an immense storm. The winds were fierce, and the downpour felt biblical. He writes that during these times, we can easily be tossed about, roiling in the waves that crash on the shore. Maybe you're feeling this personally, these wild waves as you're letting go of, things that no longer serve you, or things that kept you from, not shining your light as big as you possibly could, things that kept you playing small. But today we're also facing a collective storm, and it requires that each and every one of us actually muster the courage and the resilience and an incredible reserve of strength to rise up and right the ship. So, what is it that keeps us from crashing and drowning? Well, it's the very same thing that keeps us steady and alert during the calmer times, and that's spiritual ballast. And just like a ship has a ballast that provides its stability, it keeps it from tipping over, from capsizing, even during the most perfect storm. Our spiritual ballast is what keeps us calm and centered no matter what comes our way. Our spiritual ballast is a container for the sacred fire within us. And every time that we practice and build up our spiritual ballast, we grow stronger. So if you are called to right the ship, if you are called to restore balance to this most precious earth, then it's essential that you have a spiritual toolbox that you can rely on. And remember that self-care in and of itself is an act of service. And moreover, ancient spiritual masters and quantum physicists keep reminding us that the world, our world, is actually our outer world as a reflection of the world that we have within us. So by simply keeping our personal frequency high, our lights bright, the more beautiful world that we know is possible, it actually becomes a reality. So we're all in the same boat today. So the more skilled that we are at together keeping this boat afloat, and that means tending first and foremost to our spiritual fire and our light, the more assurance we have of not going under. So when I get in a rut, when I feel like the world's chaos is getting a little too close for comfort, when I'm absorbing energy from that isn't mine from family and friends and taking it on as my own, I pull out my spiritual toolbox. And every moment I have a choice. So do you. I can stay in that downward spiral, or I can choose a tool that will work best in that moment. And it's my act of choosing and using that tool that shifts my vibration and it activates my light, which automatically raises the light of everyone on this planet. The same is true for you. The same is true for all of us. So in my toolbox, my spiritual toolbox right now, I have 11 tools that I rely on. And I want to share with you today 3 of those tools. And I guarantee you that if you choose to use these tools and practice them, your life will change. So the first tool is be still and listen. The second tool is move your body. And the third tool is choose joy. For me, choosing joy is a spiritual tool. So let's go ahead and explore this first tool, move your body. So our bodies are meant to move. When our bodies are sedentary, we start to feel really stiff. Our bodies feel really creaky, but it's not just our bodies that begin to feel stiff and creaky when we don't move. Our minds, our emotional energy can really feel stiff and creaky too. So there's so much benefit to moving our body. We feel better. We think more creatively. Stagnant energy that weighs us down like a heavy, wet blanket is lifted. But there's one more bonus to really moving our bodies. And that's one that we've been hearing a lot about. And that is the most powerful place to be is in the present moment. But guess what? We can only be in the present moment if we're in our bodies. So whether it's walking, yoga, dancing, Pilates, the key is to choose a movement that works for you and let it be one that brings you joy. Don't let it be one that feels like a chore. So for me, moving my body, one of my favorite ways to move my body is something I learned about almost 15 years ago. And it's something that since then I've been practicing and teaching ever since. And it's an ancient system of self care and self healing that combines slow, gentle movement with breath and intention. It's called Qigong, and it has changed my life, and it can change yours too. I was someone who was always living outside of my body. I was either 15 steps ahead, or I was 15 steps behind, or I was projecting anticipation into the future, or I was worried, about things that had happened in the past. Qigong literally brought me back home inside into my body. For those who are unfamiliar with it, it's about 5,000 years old, and it was born in China. It's considered the root or the mother of Chinese medicine. And there's no wrong way to do it. And again, it has so many benefits. The most important thing is it increases energy and it reduces stress. But it's also provided me with a lot more clarity. It's opened me up to inspiration, and it's really expanded my intuition. The other thing that it helps me to do, it actually helps me to embody my light. In other words, instead of this idea of spiritual light being something that I'm just thinking about in my mind or just an intellectual idea, it practicing qigong was a way to bring my light into my body and to really feel it. And when we are fully embodying our divine light, there is nothing that we are incapable of doing in co-creation with divine source energy. So the first qigong exercise that I want to share with you is called shaking. And there are many benefits of shaking. One of the best benefits is if you're feeling in a rut, or if you're immersed in self-doubt or beliefs that keep you small, or if you are just feeling like there's just this heavy energy about you, shaking by far is one of the best ways to shift your attitude and to really bring us more into the present moment. So we're going to do this together. And I like to say with Qigong that there is no wrong way to do Qigong. And the good thing to do before you practice is to set an intention. So what is it that you want to shake off? Is it that old belief that's keeping you small? Is it a physical pain that you have in your body? Or is it just a malaise that you've been holding on to that you just want to release and get rid of? Is it something that somebody told you that you're just ready to let go? Is it even some energy that you absorbed from somebody else? So just set your intention and let's go ahead and give it a try. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit. And again, just set your intention. And what you want to do is you just want to begin to shake, remembering that there is no wrong way to do this, right? You can shake your wrists. You can shake your arms, your legs. I'm actually bouncing a little in my knees. So if your knees feel strong enough, you can bounce. This can be done sitting down too, right? I'm actually bouncing a little bit into my heels. And now take a nice breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Just letting go of whatever it is that you're ready to release and let go of. Take another nice inhalation through your nose and then exhale. And just send it down into the earth to be recycled and composted into fresh vital energy. Good, let's go ahead and keep shaking. We're only going to do this for about another 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. Take a nice inhalation and just let it go. Relax your neck, relax your tailbone. A couple more times, take a nice inhalation. Once more. And then just slowly come to a standing position. And notice what you feel. If you feel this tingling inside of you, that's a really good sign. It means that your chi, your vital life force energy, is moving and flowing. And there's a saying in Chinese medicine, and it goes like this: where there's free flow of energy, there's no pain. Where there's no free flow, there's pain. And that's whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. So the idea is to get our energy to move and flow, because when it does, we can release and we become a lot clearer, and our lights can shine a lot brighter. So you can do that any time of the day. And if you do it every day for 3 to 5 minutes, your life will be shaken up in a really good way. So yeah, just give that a try and see how that feels for you, okay? So another one of my favorite Qigong exercises is called clearing emotional congestion in your heart light. And I just want to share with you a little bit about what your heart light is. For me, my heart light is the deepest well of wisdom available to me. It's an infinite well of wisdom, and it's always there, ready to guide me for my highest and my best good. For me, my heart light is located right in the center of my chest. And we can call upon this heart light whenever to actually receive its guidance. And we're going to do this a little bit later. But often what can happen is it's located right here in the center of our chest. This is a big emotional center. Excuse me. It's a big emotional center where we can absorb a lot of energy, a lot of emotional energy. And sometimes the center can feel so weighed down that we begin to close up, right? And actually, we want our heart lights to be open and bright, like a lighthouse guiding us. And so what I want to offer you now is another Qigong exercise to actually clear this heart light, to free it up, to actually lighten it up, okay? So this is a Qigong exercise that I learned from my very favorite teacher, Daisy Lee, who is the creator of Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong. But this exercise can be done by anyone, okay? So I'm going to step back a little bit and I'm going to guide you through this. So if you feel like it, go ahead and stand up, or if you're sitting, again, this one can be easily done sitting down, okay? So this is a variation of what I learned from Daisy Lee. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our hands together. Just bring your hands together and rub them. Create a lot of heat in between your palms. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your palms. And you may feel a little bit of energy in between them. Again, there's no right or wrong here. Now, what I'm going to invite you to do is I want you to imagine that there's a healing ball of energy in between your hands. Make this healing ball of energy any color that you would like. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this ball of light and we're going to stretch it into a heart. And so again, set your intention. Is there something that you're holding on to that's really weighing you down here? Is there something that you want to release? Let's go ahead and set that intention to clear it, okay? So your hands are down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this ball of energy into a heart. The bottom of the heart is right here. Ready? So take a nice inhale. We're going to open up. Inhale. And the center of that heart comes right into the center of your heart center. And we're just going to tap a little. And as we tap, we loosen up any congested, stagnant, emotional energy that we may be holding on to. And when you're ready, we're going to release. So it goes like this. Letting it go. All right? So let's try that again. And rub your hands together again. Opening up. Take a nice inhale and exhale. And then stretch this ball of healing energy and light into a heart. The bottom of the heart is right here. Take a nice inhale. And the center of that heart comes right into the center of your heart center. It's just some tapping to loosen up any congested energy. And then let it go. Release it up into the light, into the sun, to be composted into fresh, vital energy. Ready? We'll do that once more. Just take a nice inhale and exhale. If you want, you can rub your hands. Ready? Inhale. If you want, you can close your eyes and hold your breath, only if it's comfortable. And then exhale. Good. So pause a moment. Notice how you feel. Often what happens when we do this emotional release technique, we feel so much lighter. We feel like a heavy burden has been lifted from us. And then also what happens is we've cleared anything that has been obscuring our heart lights right in here. So our heart lights now have much more ability to shine out, radiate, and guide us. So again, that's something that you can try anytime that you'd like. And so the second tool that I want to share with you is one called Be Still and Listen. So when I feel like I am spinning out of control, if the world's chaos has just come a little bit too close for comfort, or again, if I'm taking on too much energy from others, I ask myself, when was the last time that I pulled out my tool, Be Still and Listen, from my toolbox? When was the last time that I paused and got quiet and just listened to the deep well of wisdom within us? So if you give yourself time to do this, if you give yourself permission to be still and listen and allow yourself to do this, you will be amazed. If you're not already doing this, you'll be amazed at the incredible wisdom that actually is always within us and just patiently waiting for us to access it. But again, this heart light is located right here, and it can become really overburdened with emotional congestion. So I'm going to share with you actually another way to access this. And it's going to be a lot easier now because we've done a lot of clearing with the Qigong exercises that we did. So there is actually an entryway, like a doorway into our heart light, into the deep stillness and wisdom that's always readily available to us. And it's located right in the very center of our chest. And it's an acupuncture point, it's an acupressure point. And I consider it to be the most influential, the master point of the entire body. And if you translate this point from Chinese into English, it literally means sea of tranquility. And believe me, I know this point doesn't always feel this way. But underneath all of the emotional turbulence, the fear and the doubt, we can access this point. And it's going to be easier to access because we've already done a lot of clearing through Qigong. But sometimes it's hard to describe the incredible peace and wisdom that's waiting for us when we enter through this doorway of the sea of tranquility and give our heart lights permission to speak. But let me try. So imagine sitting next to a beautiful still mountain lake. It's twilight, and the breeze has quietly died down. And there's a gentle stillness that descends over everything. Across the horizon, there's a big, bright, full moon that's slowly rising up. And as it rises up, the brightness of the full moon, it reflects down on the still mountain lake. It's almost as if you could hear a pin drop. It's almost as if time stands still. And you breathe in this quiet and this peace. And then you realize you are the quiet, the peace, and the wisdom. And you simply rest in it. So when we take the time to be still and listen, we can access that energy because it lives within inside of us. And you can ask your heart light anything that you would like to. The key, though, is to listen and then trust it and then act on it with courage, without doubt. And this means trusting in your heart light even when it flies in the face of logic. For example, what if we took the time to be still and listened and entered in through the doorway of our sea of tranquility and opened up to our heart lights and listen to it when during major transitions. So it could be something like you're going through a major transition in your life. You're, contemplating, should you take this job or not, right? And so you take the time to be still and listen, and you ask your heart light, please, what is in my highest and best interest? And what if your heart light said to you as you listened, it's time for a change. You'll be happier. Trust me. You'll be okay. Or that still small voice that says, you're right on track. Be patient. You just need a little more time. So our heart lights are always there. They're always willing to communicate with us. And they always, always provide clear, direct information and guidance of a high vibrational nature. Information from our heart light is never denigrating. It always steers us in the right direction, and it always loves the truth. And it may ask us to take a risk, which can be very scary to our egos, right? But how might our life change if we actually acted on the guidance? We know deep in our hearts that acting on this guidance is always in the highest and the best interest. So what I want to do right now is I want to guide you to this heart light, okay? So if you can, if you're not already, just find a really quiet place. And if you're not in a quiet place, you can still access this heart light of yours. But just give yourself permission to do this, okay? Set your intention to connect with your heart light, the deepest well of wisdom within you. And if you want, go ahead, close your eyes, and begin to take some slow, deep, smooth, and gentle breaths. Let your breath flow all the way down to your belly. And as you inhale, let your belly expand. And as you exhale, let your breath float gently back toward your spine. With every exhalation, even if it's just for right now, release any worries or concerns that you may have. Just breathing in and breathing out with your intention to connect with your heart light. So as you're breathing in and breathing out, I'm going to guide you. Imagine, sense, feel a crystal clear, tranquil, blue mountain lake right in the center of your chest. Look at the beautiful light glistening down on this lake from this beautiful full moon. Or maybe it's sparkling sunlight dancing on the water. Either way, this light is a reflection of your own heart light. Look how bright and beautiful it is. It holds and radiates the infinite wisdom that you were born with. So just continue to breathe in slow, deep, smooth, and gentle breaths. Now bring your middle finger of one hand right into the center of your chest, as if you were opening up a door into your wise and loving heart light. This is a special point that we're connecting with. It's your sea of tranquility. Just notice how you feel when you touch this place in the center of your heart, the center of your chest. Just notice how it feels with no judgment. Just breathing in and breathing out. As you gently connect with your sea of tranquility, imagine, sense, feel your chest begin to unwind and relax, releasing any tightness in your chest. Ask yourself, how full is your sea of tranquility? Does it need some irrigation? Are the waters turbulent? Even if it's just for right now, breathe out any distractions or fears. And with every breath, imagine, sense, feel a sense of deep calm and peace washing over you, through you, and around you. With every breath, as you connect with your sea of tranquility, the door to your heart light, feel the peace and calm within you expand. And your heart light grows brighter. It's easier to access and hear now. Now bring to your awareness a question or concern that you've recently been mulling over that you'd like some guidance on. It can be anything. For example, heart light, please give me guidance on what next step is in my highest and best interest. Or please show me what to do to release this guilt. Or how do I help my son? How do I trust in the future? It can be anything that you'd like guidance on. When you're ready with your connection to your heart light, just ask that question and just listen. Keep breathing in and out. And if you need to, ask the question again. Heart light, please, and then ask your question. Some nice breaths in and out. And trust what you hear. Invite the deep wisdom within your heart light to emerge, to come forth. Let yourself be guided by this deep wisdom that's always within you. If you haven't heard an answer to your question yet, simply ask it again. Take a nice breath and just be still and listen. Trust what you hear. If you've heard an answer, invite the courage of your whole heart to help you act on whatever guidance you received. Trust this guidance. And also know that if you didn't hear anything, that trust that this is just a matter of practice to connect with your heart light. In time, know that you will connect and hear the wisdom within you. And sometimes this guidance comes in images or feelings, or sometimes it's just a deep knowing. If you did receive guidance, thank your heart light. There you go. So take a nice breath in and out and know that you can come back to this practice as often as you'd like. The key is just to really trust and know that that light that you were born with, it's always there and it's always ready to guide you. And it's really just a matter of creating a practice, actually creating a relationship with this deep well of wisdom within you. All right, excellent. So let's move on to the third and the last tool. And this last tool is to choose joy. But I can hear some of you saying, how can I choose joy when my heart is breaking, when I witness, what's happening in this world today? Or maybe you just feel numb and you can't access anything. I mean, I know these feelings. I've been there, right? Know that you're not going crazy when you feel this bone deep grief or you just feel like checking out. The key is to really honor these feelings, to meet and greet them, and then to help them transform into energy that wants to move and flow, energy that can really support us during these times. The key is to trust those feelings and then transform them into fresh, vital energy. But what's happening, what does happen as the story of our awakened hearts grows stronger, we begin to feel a lot more. We begin to understand how intimately connected everything is. And this can, in reality, feel very overwhelming to our hearts. And as you allow yourself to really connect with what's happening in the world around you, and as our hearts begin to awaken, don't be surprised if your heart begins to ache. It might even feel like it's breaking. A few years ago, I actually, swept myself into a tizzy by experiencing immense awe and grief simultaneously. This was quite an exercise for my heart to experience all this. And I'll give you an example. For example, nature's beauty really moves me. I know that it moves many of you too. For example, the morning sun rising up in the field in front of my house, or hearing early morning bird songs of birds that flew thousands of miles to eat at my bird feeder. Or I'm thrilled when I think of the amazing potential that we collectively have if we were to rise up together and claim this light, right? On the other hand, I am experiencing profound grief too. The possibility of losing all of these, that we are losing too, all of these incredible species, the loss of nature, human injustices that cause me to wince, the possibility of us not being able to rise up to claim our infinite potential. One day, my heart literally began to ache, physically began to ache. And maybe you know this, right, too. My heart felt like it was cracking open. It was beating too fast. It was hard to sleep. There was an emotional cocktail of energy flowing through me. And you bet that I used my Qigong tools at this time to help bring me back into center, to help calm my energy. And while this was happening, although it was alarming, I knew that what was happening, that there was a major expansion going on within my heart, my energetic heart. And I began to really understand what the Lakota Indians mean when they say, all my relations. And this is a prayer that means that everything is interconnected. It's a prayer that recognizes the oneness and harmony of all forms of life, including animals, insects, trees, plants, humans, rocks, rivers, mountains, valleys. Everything is interconnected. So as this heart expansion was occurring within me, I began to realize this deeper relationship to life, and my relationship to life is transforming. I am now so much more open to guidance from my heart light. I trust it a lot more. Birds fly into my hand to eat, something I've patiently waited for. The compassion and love that is expanding within myself, it now easily radiates out. And even when I feel the deep pain of human injustice, the doorway, my sea of tranquility, the doorway into my heart light, it's much easier to access for me. Sure, there is still an emotional roller coaster at times, but this sense of peace and feeling balanced and centered is much more easier to access, which is something really important for anyone that is rising up to be a spiritual warrior during these times. But maybe your heart is breaking, right? Maybe it's breaking for the people in Flint, Michigan that since 2014 have wondered if they're drinking clean water. Or maybe it's the raging fire that's raging out of control and causing all the destruction. Or maybe it's the death of the last rhinoceros. If your heart is breaking, listen to these words from the amazing Joanna Macy. She says, as your heart breaks open, there will be room for the world to heal. That is what is happening as we see people honestly confronting the sorrows of our time. So let your heart break open. Let it break open. Let it expand. And as we do this, we realize that there is one collective heart that beats together. And when this happens, it's impossible to stay disconnected. The story of separation no longer has any sway over us. We begin to see the sacred in everyone and everything. And our capacity to feel love and compassion, once limited to a small circle of human beings, it radiates out. There is no end to that. Even saying that makes my heart beat a little faster. But in reality, we know there is no end to the capacity and love that we can feel. We begin to really know in our hearts that there are beautiful golden threads of energy that connect all beings. And as each one of us wakes up to the story of our awakened hearts, one by one, each thread in that tapestry is rewoven. And for this tapestry to be complete, your awakened heart is needed. Your beautiful light is needed. Your ability to stay strong and centered during these times is needed. So yes, grief and anger are well-known catalysts, but it's essential we don't let it immobilize us. Which brings me back to joy. Let's not forget about the power of joy. And I love this quote by Valerie Kaur, who's the founder of the Revolutionary Love Project. And she says, in times such as this that we're experiencing, joy is an act of moral resistance. She reminds us that, quote, joy returns us to everything that is good and beautiful and worth fighting for. Joy gives us the energy to continue our labors to make a viable life and more just world. She says joy comes when we draw our attention to the present moment, to a child's laughter, a neighbor's cookies, a lit candle. So remember, as we are going through this epic transformation that is stretching us in ways that we never even felt possible, and that is surely the ultimate hero's journey, it's really valuable for us to remember that there is nothing more powerful than using our joy to flood our world with light. And remember, the outside world can only reflect what we have within us. The world around us is a reflection of each one of us. So if we really do believe that a world based on compassion, wisdom, justice for all, and yes, joy is possible, then we need to access that compassion, wisdom, and justice, and yes, joy within us. So there it is. The three tools out of my spiritual toolbox. 1, move your body. 2, be still and listen. And 3, choose joy. So I know that you know, as a spiritual warrior, that these spiritual tools are essential. And so if you decided to create a consistent self-care practice and actually do it, well done. Great job. However, if you find yourself, stopping and starting, or if you're slipping up, don't get down on yourself. We all fall down. It's a given. When I fall down and when I forget to pull out my spiritual toolbox, I remember this really wise Japanese proverb. And it goes like this: fall down 7 times, get up 8. Meaning that if we fall down, it's our spiritual resilience, it's our ability to pick ourselves back up and pull out the spiritual toolbox again and pull out one of those tools and use it. That's what spiritual resilience is about. So just pick yourself back up and start again. Resilient spiritual warriors are in really high demand today. And what makes us resilient are the tools in our spiritual toolbox and our ability to use them. It's our spiritual ballast. So having a spiritual toolbox that is well stocked and used are just a sampling of what I'll be covering in my new online program called It's Time to Boldly Shine Our Radiant Lights to help co-create the world we know is possible. In this program, you'll gain access to my complete spiritual toolbox. You'll learn how to create one for yourself. And we're also going to dive a lot more deeply into what it means to actually be these spiritual light warriors, what it means to actually claim our light and use it to create the more beautiful world we know is possible. You'll learn that when we combine our spiritual lights with activism grounded in compassion, there is nothing that we cannot do. And so I invite you to join me in this new class. I am going to include right there, if you want more information, you can go to www.joandargo.com, and you're going to look for the tab that says spiritual. You'll find it. It's there. The last thing that I want to say to you is that your light is needed. No one is too small or insignificant to make a difference. Many thanks for joining me. Many blessings.